Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Figuarts One Piece SABO, Revolutionary Army Chief of Staff. And when this guy was shown, a lot of people said he looked really good, but that Ace was probably the best release in the line. Now, Ace was pretty good, but he was kind of riddled with QC issues and over-engineered loose joints. SABO here doesn't have that problem. He's got a couple of slightly loose joints, but I think this is the figure of the line. I think. We're going to see by the time I'm finished with the review if we still think that, but I'm pretty sure right now he's the best one of the bunch. But let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. Alright, before I show you the figure, I do want to show you my package. It's a good package. I love the One Piece packaging. It's very nice. He's very prominently featured on the front here. The figure, a little bit less so. I mean, like the actual figure, this is a photo, but still it looks good. The blue and white and that whole combo is nice. Side of the box, not maybe the best thing ever, but it's good enough. This side's pretty good. I like that. And obviously we have the straw hat with the map behind it. That's pretty cool. And the back. They have decent backs on the One Piece figures. Better than Dragon Ball, for sure. And it is okay. So if you're an inbox collector, I think this one will probably do the trick for you. Alright, let's move on. And before we get into the meat and taters, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, I did adjust the lighting on the videos again, so let me know how that looks for you and on what kind of device you're watching the video, please. And also, the first live stream went really well last night, and we will... maybe not last night when you're watching this. He stands, by the way, just about 16 centimeters. If you're interested in more live streams, they will be every other Monday, so skipping next Monday, and then we'll return the week after that. About 6¼ inches. Here he is up against Darwin. A little bit taller. You could easily fit him into your 1/12 scale collection. Then the last thing is this guy is in stock at Big Bad Toy Store. There's a link in the description below if you want to get one. Let's get into the aesthetic. Question of the day: which version of SABO is your favorite? I don't know. I kind of like the blue, white, yellow look. I kind of do. This might be my favorite look, or I could easily be persuaded to get the darker colors. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think, and we'll see if Bandai makes them. Alright, let's get into this. He looks pretty good. I will say his vest looks a little poofy because of the way they did the engineering and that this is a floating piece. It's a little less tight than I would like it to be to his body, but otherwise it looks pretty good. I like that the jacket is not soft goods, it's a sculpted jacket, so it matches the figure perfectly, and he's surprisingly not that back heavy. Like, it's definitely a thing you have to be aware of, but let's see if I can get him to not lean too far forward. Yeah, I'm pretty close there, though. It's not so bad. A little bit of effort, and he's alright. Like, let me just do this just a little bit. There you go. He's not... oh, come on. Every time I turn him, he falls. There you go. Like, he's not super leaning forward to make it work. It's not bad. I was expecting it to be a lot heavier, and it worked out. So yeah, he could use a little bit of paint. He's a little plasticky looking, but overall, it is not too bad. I think he looks pretty good. Again, a little bit of shading would go a long way, but it is pretty well separated in terms of the colors. And the sculpt is good. I don't really have any issues with that. The hips are a little funky just due to this thigh swivel, but otherwise it's not bad. And I think his face actually looks really good. I think they got the sculpt and the paints exactly where they needed to have them, and I'm pleased with it. I think this is probably the best release so far. The Dragon Lady was decent. She was pretty good. Ace is good enough, but had a lot of problems. This guy, I think, takes the cake so far. But yeah, aesthetically, I will go 8 out of 10. Throw a little bit of paint on there, and this guy's off to the races. No real problems. Alright, as far as accessories go, we have the normal head with no hat, and then we have the hatted head, so that's just interchangeable, and you swap out the faces. That's pretty good. You have the goggles that go on the hat, if you want them to, so that's nice. You have a good spread of faces for SABO, and then one for Luffy, and I think at this point we have a total of 75 faces for Luffy across all the different figures, but this one's really good, so no complaints. A whole bunch of hands, and then they're sculpted really nicely for his various poses. I like that. And then you get his pipe, which is a little plasticky. That's not metallic at all, which you could argue is fine because it's a toy from a cartoon, but you know, anytime I say cartoon, people get mad when I'm talking about anime. It's still a cartoon. Anyway, the pipe looks maybe a little cheap, but it works. So yeah, it's a good spread of accessories. No energy effect or anything like that, but a decent spread. I will go 8. Yeah, probably just 8 out of 10. I think that's reasonable enough for an SH Figuarts. You could get more, I think. Okay, so let's get into the articulation, and the first thing I'm going to do is pop his jacket off, because you can do that, thankfully, and it comes off quite easily. I say that as it gets stuck. Anytime you're doing anything on camera, it's not as smooth as it would be otherwise, but it just pegs in with this little peg right here, and then the sides are connected on ball hinges, but the ball hinges, the way they're seated, it's really hard to get them to do the ball hinge shimmy. So you end up having a lot more limitation than you might expect, but it moves. It just might not be as fun to handle as you would hope. Alright, we'll set that aside. Now, I have to tell you guys, years of me complaining about this, I think is starting to pay off, because more and more often we're seeing double ball pegs for the neck, and it's so nice. So double ball peg here, ball peg down here, and yeah, like his shirt's in the way, but when you want to move his head, you just do it. You don't have to do any weird ball hinge tricks or anything like that. You just move it however you want, and it works. Now, if it wasn't for his shirt, it'd be perfectly usable. The shirt does get in the way, but I think he's all right. This piece does move, so that's really nice. The shoulders pop out way too easily, unfortunately. I found that out the hard way by just handling it, but for review's sake, it's pretty nice. Just a ball peg in there and a ball peg here, so it functions a lot like a Storm figure or even McFarlane these days. And then this cap right here, instead of being a floating piece, it's on little tabs, so it's really just a rocking piece. But it works nicely, and I'll show you, because you get your ball hinge on the outside, and you can just lift it up to kind of make it seamless-ish, so that's okay. And then you can use the ball hinge, which works surprisingly well, so that's good. But then you can also just rotate the whole piece around, and that works really nicely, and that's kind of what I've been saying the Dragon Ball figure should have. Now, it does pop off too easily. Don't forget that. It's annoying. But luckily, you can just pop it back in. So yeah, there's a little bit of an issue there, and because this piece has to rotate with the arm, you cannot rotate the arm through it. I think that's the reason it's popping off. I'm almost positive, and it's not necessary. I think this should be a true floating piece, and that would have solved that problem. Allowing this piece to rotate is good, but this should be able to rotate independent of this piece as well. So that's a bit of an issue, but you can kind of work around that. But you do get good range. Bicep swivel is in there too. Elbow joint works pretty well. It's not the best looking thing in the world, but it's not the worst, and it's okay functionally. Wrists are on big ball hinges. Those work really nicely. Way more than they need to. They're quite large, but that's all right. And then the torso is just, I don't think there's any hinges. There could be, but he leans back really well. I'm trying to not use the hips. Leans back really well. Let me do this. Leans forward. Okay. Not using the hips. Always rate the torso articulation without using the hips. And then, obviously, if the hips work, he can lean even farther because you can add the hip rotation in there. But yeah, the torso works pretty well. This is just a floating soft piece. I do think it's a little bit too baggy, though, like I said before. And then for the hips, you can bring them not super far forward, but I would say close to horizontal. They do go back, though, also. So no butt cheeks really in the way there. And I like that a whole bunch. Going out to the side, full splits, no nuggets. That's really good. But if you wanted to have him lean forward, go ahead and use those hips and the torso articulation, and he can lean forward just fine. So that's good. For your thigh swivel, you get a ball, so there's a little bit of extra play. I personally don't prefer that because then you have these gaps here that you don't really need. They're in there too, but you do get the extra range, and obviously the rotation's fine. Single jointed knee, not the ugliest thing, not the best looking thing, and also just all right for functionality. It'll be fine though. Boot swivel is in there. It is a little bit loose. Don't love that. Ankle joint has decent range. It is also a little bit loose. Ankle rocker is pretty nice. And then your toe hinge is fine. So yeah, he's got a little bit of looseness in the lower legs, which is unfortunate because that's kind of important for standing. But otherwise, I'd say he functions pretty well. He's not going to be the most impressive thing in terms of articulation in your collection, but he does work, and he looks pretty good doing it. So I'll give him an 8 out of 10 for articulation. And now it's time for the final verdict. How is he? Well, I think it's not bad. He's not like the most impressive thing ever, but he's an all-around solid figure. He's not super unpleasant to handle. The arms popping off kind of sucks, and the character design with the jacket isn't the most action figure friendly, but it does work well enough. I think I'm going to have to give him an overall rating of 8 out of 10, but I do think I gave Ace that same rating. However, I'm going to say this guy edges him out in terms of handleability. Ace is really annoying with the floppiness and the over-engineering. This guy is way more intuitive, way more pleasant to handle. Maybe he's lacking comparatively in a few areas, but I think overall this guy wins the subjective rating score of however you want to determine that. But yeah, he's a pretty good... Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this. You can put his stick up there too. But yeah, I think he's a pretty darn good release. If you are into this sort of thing, pick him up. If you already gave up on the One Piece line, maybe start with this guy and Ace and work your way forward with better releases. I don't know, but maybe they're hitting their stride finally, and this line's going to be much, much better going forward. I hope so. This guy's promising. He's not quite what I was hoping for. I'd like him to be a little bit better, since One Piece is kind of a big deal. But I say better in terms of like more paint, things like that. Give him a little bit of a flourish of extra attention. But still, very good release overall. So there it is from me, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.